Graduation? They didn't even ask the time. They knew. They just didn't care. My name is Eliza Monroe. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Has anyone ever made you feel invisible on the most important day of your life, and then expected you to smile through it? Because that's exactly what my parents did. The ceremony was at 4 p.m. sharp. I'd spent years getting here, double shifts, sleepless nights, tutoring rich kids whose parents actually showed up to things. And all I asked for was one day. I stood by the auditorium doors in my cap and gown. Everyone else had families waving, filming, holding signs. I had a lukewarm coffee and an empty seat. At first, I thought maybe there was traffic. Then, right before I walked on stage, my phone buzzed. Mom, we're skipping the graduation. Your brother needs us. You're not our priority right now. Just like that. No apology. No explanation. Just, you're not our priority. I read it 4 times. Then I smiled, not because I was okay, but because something in me finally snapped into focus. For years, I'd bent over backward for them. Paid their bills when Dad got laid off. Worked 2 jobs while Mom found herself for the 4th time. Sent every extra dollar to keep their house from going into foreclosure. That house, the one I wasn't even allowed to decorate a room in. The one where my brother got a birthday dinner every year and I got leftovers with a candle stuck in them. The one where family game night meant me doing dishes while they played Uno with his friends. But this text? This was my diploma, not the one they hand you on stage. The one life hands you when it tells you they were never going to choose you. Stop choosing them. I didn't cry. I didn't call. After I walked the stage, I handed my diploma to my best friend Ava, hugged my professor, and drove home in silence. I went straight to my room, sat down at my desk, and opened the banking app where the mortgage autopay was set up. It was in my name. Because my credit score was the only one clean enough to qualify. Because when they begged, I said yes. I clicked cancel autopay. Then I wrote a note on a torn piece of paper and left it on the kitchen counter. You're right. I'm not your priority. So don't expect to be mine. Then I packed a duffel bag, grabbed my laptop, passport, and some snacks. And I left. No shouting. No door slamming. Just one final understood. I didn't expect anything to happen that fast. But the next morning, my phone blew up with 17 missed calls and 2 voicemails. My dad's voice? Panicked. Eliza. The bank's saying the account's frozen. What did you do? We can't access anything. The house. What's going on? I didn't answer. Because I was busy sipping coffee in a little downtown apartment I'd sublet with Ava. Surrounded by people who didn't just remember my graduation. They celebrated it like it was the Olympics. And that's when I realized I wasn't the broken one. I was just done being their free emergency plan. When I was 16, my dad sat me down at the kitchen table and said, "You're the responsible one, Eliza. That's why we need your help." I didn't know help meant signing over my future. At the time, my mom was in one of her spiritual phases. She quit her job at the clinic and decided she was going to start a YouTube channel about candle healing and moon cycles. Meanwhile, my younger brother Mason, the golden child, had totaled his second car and dropped out of community college to pursue music. He was finding himself, too. So, guess who got asked to co-sign the mortgage refinancing? Me. I had just turned 18. Barely had a credit score. But because I'd been working retail and filing taxes early, it was clean enough to qualify. "We'll only need you on paper," Dad had said. "You won't have to actually pay anything. It's just technical." What a lie. Within 6 months, I was covering partial payments. Then utilities. Then full payments. Because Mom forgot to send the check. Because Dad's new gig didn't pay yet. Because Mason needed studio equipment. And every time I asked, why am I the only one contributing? The answer was always, "You're the strong one. You're our smart girl." It wasn't a compliment. It was a leash. When I got into college on scholarship, they didn't throw a party. They said, "Oh, so you'll still be sending money home, right?" I juggled 2 part-time jobs while studying engineering. I'd be tutoring spoiled freshmen at 11 p.m., then wiring money the next morning because Mason had overdraft again. One time, I skipped my finals to help my parents file bankruptcy paperwork for their car loan default. No one even said thank you. Just, we knew we could count on you. Like I was a credit card with a heartbeat. But here's what they didn't know. Every bill I paid, every document I signed, every email I sent on their behalf, I kept copies. Because when people treat you like a tool, you start building your own backup plan. I knew the mortgage was legally in my name. I also knew their bank accounts were connected to mine for automatic payments. So when I walked away that night and canceled the mortgage autopay, it triggered something deeper. Their account had bounced, which triggered fraud detection, which locked them out of every linked asset. And me? I wasn't breaking any laws. I just stopped helping. Ava and I sat on the couch the next morning and watched the chaos unfold like a drama series. My brother posted on Instagram, "When your whole family's bank account gets frozen and no one knows why, skull skull skull." In the background of his video, you could hear my mom yelling, "Call Eliza, now." But they forgot one thing. I'd warned them. That note I left? It wasn't a tantrum. It was a declaration. Don't expect me to be a priority if I was never yours. By day 3, my dad was texting like a man on the verge of a breakdown. "Eliza, we need to talk. This isn't you. Please. Your mother's sick with stress. You're being selfish. Don't do this to us." But that's the thing. This was me, just not the version of me they could control anymore. I didn't respond. Because while they were panicking about their credit score and frozen assets, I was busy digging up every document, email, and voicemail I'd archived over the last 4 years. Because deep down, I always knew they might turn on me someday. So I kept everything. I found the voice memo Mom sent when she wanted me to cover Mason's DUI fine. "Baby, if you really love us, you'll make this go away. You know how to move things around. Don't tell your dad, just do it quietly." And I did. I sold my textbooks that semester to afford it. Then I found the bank transfers. $4,800 to their mortgage in July. $3,200 in unpaid medical bills in August. $6,100 in total across 5 months. All while I lived off instant noodles and skipped winter coat shopping to buy Mason a new laptop after he accidentally dropped the last one. And the worst one? A message I'd buried in my email inbox from Dad. "Don't make us choose between the family and your education. That's not fair. You're lucky you even have the chance to go." That was sent the day I got my scholarship confirmation. I always thought if I just worked hard enough, gave enough, stayed quiet enough, they'd finally see me. But some people don't want to see you. They only want to use the parts of you that make their lives easier. So when their bank accounts locked up and the foreclosure notices started arriving in the mail and my brother tweeted, "Can't believe this is happening to MY family. We deserve better," I laughed. Because what they meant was, we deserve Eliza to keep saving us. But not anymore. This wasn't just about unpaid bills. This was about every birthday they skipped, every silent treatment they gave me, every backhanded compliment when I got an award, every time they said, "You're too emotional," when I begged them to just show up. I even remembered the night before my graduation. I texted the family group chat. "I graduate tomorrow. Hope to see you there." Not a single reply. Not even a thumbs up. And then the message that followed, hours later. "We're skipping. Mason needs us." They didn't even say congratulations. But now they needed me? Ava found me one night in the living room, surrounded by folders and screenshots, just breathing. Not crying. Not raging. Just breathing like someone finally found solid ground. "What are you doing with all this?" she asked. I looked at her and said quietly, "I'm building a timeline. If they want to come for me legally, I'll show them every time I paid to be loved." It started with a letter. Not a long one. Just a single, typed page, delivered by courier to my parents' address. "To whom it may concern. This notice is to inform you that the co-signer and financial guarantor of the property located at 711 Granger Lane has formally withdrawn all voluntary support, as permitted by the contractual agreement outlined in the mortgage terms. Effective immediately, repayment responsibilities now fall solely on the primary residence." It had no signature, but they knew exactly who sent it, because they knew what they had done. My phone exploded the next morning. 32 calls, 5 voicemails, one from my mother in tears, one from Dad trying to sound calm but already losing control. Eliza, listen, you made your point, okay? Now, let's fix this. Let's be adults. Adults? Adults don't say, "You're not our priority." Adults don't gaslight their daughter into silence and servitude and expect applause for it. I blocked them both. Because the plan wasn't just to walk away. It was time to remove my name from everything they tied me to, while still pretending they raised me. I met with a financial advisor Ava recommended. She was blunt, brilliant, and didn't ask for a backstory. Just numbers. We went through every joint account, every document I'd ever signed, every credit card they opened under my name, yes, even that, and started the process of severing every single tie. I filed identity misuse claims for the cards I never authorized, sent certified letters to lenders where they'd listed me as an additional income source. And I pulled my credit report and highlighted every transaction that wasn't mine. It wasn't revenge. It was reclamation. I was reclaiming my name. Meanwhile, I found out something interesting. The mortgage they'd refinanced with my help? It had a clause. A very useful clause. In the event of a primary contributor's withdrawal from repayment, the cosigner reserves the right to initiate for-sale proceedings if payments default within 90 days. They were already 60 days behind. The countdown had begun. Mason posted a sob story on Facebook. "Our house is being stolen. Prayers appreciated." The comments were wild. "How could this happen? Your sister's always been so smart. What happened to her?" "She was jealous of you, clearly." Jealous? I almost choked on my tea. Jealous of a man-child who never had to pay for consequences? Who got a tattoo with the rent money and blamed it on emotional blockage? No. This wasn't jealousy. This was freedom, wearing my own face for the first time. Then came the email from my dad. "If this house goes under, your mother might not recover. Just know you'll be responsible for breaking this family." And I replied, "The house isn't breaking the family. The lies are. I'm just stepping out of the debris you built." The foreclosure notice came on a Wednesday. Certified mail. Bright red stamp. Final warning. It was taped to their front door like a scarlet letter. The same door I used to unlock with groceries in my hands and hope in my chest, hoping maybe this time someone would say thank you. Now, it was locked from the inside. Against me, but not from the truth. Within 48 hours, the news spread through the neighborhood like a virus. Whispers on porch swings. Group chats flooded with screenshots of the notice. And the funniest part? They tried to blame me. Dad posted in the community forum. "Unfortunate financial hardships. Our daughter cut ties unexpectedly, but we'll bounce back." Unexpected? I left a paper trail of years of sacrifice. They didn't lose me overnight. They chipped away until there was nothing left to stay for. The bank called me, politely asking if I wanted to reconsider payments. I told them, no. I fulfilled my obligation, and I've documented everything. The woman paused. "Smart of you," she said softly. By week 3, their utilities were being cut off one by one. Electricity, gas, water. They started living like squatters in the house they swore would be their legacy estate. Mason tweeted again. "Imagine turning on your mom like that. Cold world." I almost replied, but I didn't need to. Because under his tweet, someone else, a girl I barely knew from high school, commented, "Didn't Eliza pay your hospital bill when you broke your wrist at a party your parents didn't know about? Cold world, huh?" Another person added, "Didn't Eliza cover your mom's dental surgery last year? I remember the GoFundMe mysteriously closing right after." People remembered, even when they pretended not to, and slowly the narrative unraveled. Meanwhile, I submitted an official request to remove my name from their property title. It would take 30 days to process, just long enough for the auction notice to go up on the city site. And then it did. Their $480,000 home, listed under court-supervised repossession. I'll never forget the call that came next. It was Mom. Blocked number. shaking voice. Eliza, we're losing everything. For once, there was no guilt, no manipulation, just the sound of someone who finally saw the ground below her wasn't solid. But it was too late. I said one sentence. You skipped my graduation to babysit your son. I skipped your downfall to save my soul. And I hung up. That night, Ava and I lit a candle, not to celebrate their loss, but to honor the part of me that finally let go. Because when you've been gaslit your whole life, the hardest thing isn't walking away. It's believing that you deserve to. The auction happened on a cloudy Tuesday. I didn't attend. Didn't need to. I already knew what they were losing. It wasn't just the house. It was the illusion, the myth that they were the generous parents, the hardworking providers, the victims of their daughter's ungratefulness. But the truth? They weren't victims. They were architects. And they built a throne on my back. After the house was listed, it sold within 12 days. Under market. Quick buy. Cash offer. I watched the listing disappear with a single click. And when Mason posted a story with bags packed in the driveway, captioned "New chapter, same haters," I actually felt nothing. No rage. No victory lap. Just release. Because while they were scrambling for shelter, I was finally building mine. I didn't go back to the old neighborhood. Didn't drive past the house. I didn't need to see the walls where I used to cry. Instead, I focused on the version of myself I had been forced to abandon. The girl who used to sketch floor plans on napkins during lunch breaks. Who dreamed of designing homes not to survive in but to thrive in. So, I applied to an architecture program overseas. Portfolio? Ready. Recommendation? Ava's uncle, a retired city planner, wrote one with tears in his eyes. She rebuilt herself from rubble. The world deserves to see what she can build next. I got in. A month later, I boarded a plane with just 2 suitcases and a vision. While they clung to the last crumbs of comfort, I stepped into the life they never imagined for me. Not because they couldn't see it, but because they were too afraid I'd realize I could have it without them. And for the first time in years, I started to feel proud of my name again. Eliza Monroe. Not the backup plan. Not the emotional accountant. Not the fixer of everything they broke. Just me. Free. Unclaimed. And absolutely unapologetic. One night, I got an email. From Mason. Subject line. You win. I almost deleted it. But curiosity won. Mom's been crashing on couches. Dad's in and out of part-time work. I guess you were right. I didn't see it before. Thought you were just being dramatic. But now I get it. You weren't trying to hurt anyone. You just finally stopped hurting yourself. I didn't reply. Not out of spite. But because some letters aren't for responding. They're just echoes of what you already knew. They only understood when it was too late. Paris. Not a postcard. Not a fantasy. But my new reality. Cobblestone streets. Open-air cafes. Architecture that breathed. Everywhere I walked, the buildings whispered stories, not of pain, but of survival. I found myself drawing again. Not because someone needed me to, but because I wanted to. My professors saw something in me that no one back home ever had. A voice. Not just in design, in how I thought, how I observed the world. Your work carries emotion, one said. You don't just build structures. You build memory. And that made me think of the house I'd once saved 100 times. The one where I was never allowed to put a photo on the wall. How many girls live inside homes they're not allowed to belong to? How many women spend years holding up families that call them a burden the moment they stop serving? So I started sketching a new kind of project. A space for them. I pitched the idea to a local women's nonprofit. The Hearth Project. A transitional home for women estranged from their families, not just a shelter, but a sanctuary. Each room named after a word I had to reclaim. Worth. Voice. Rest. Fire. Home. The nonprofit approved it. Then funded it. Then gave me the green light to design it. Me. The girl who used to cry in the laundry room because her bedroom was given to her brother's gaming setup. Now building rooms for women like me with doors that never lock behind them. I sent Ava the first draft of the floor plan. She called me crying. Eliza. Do you realize what you've done? You turned survival into art. You turned pain into shelter. Meanwhile, my name began to circulate. A feature in an architectural blog. A student award for transformational urban design. Suddenly, I was no longer someone's sister or someone's daughter. I was someone. One evening, I sat by the Seine, watching the sunset, holding a letter I hadn't opened yet. It was from my father. Handwritten. No return address. Just 3 words on the back. Please read this. I stared at it for a long time, and then I placed it inside my sketchbook, unbroken, unopened. Because forgiveness isn't always about hearing apologies. Sometimes, it's just choosing not to carry their words anymore. I looked up as the lights on the river flickered to life. And I whispered to the wind, "You told me I was a burden, but you forgot. A burden can become a beam, if she learns to hold herself." It took me 2 years to go back. Not because I wanted revenge. Not because I missed them. But because I needed to prove something. To the version of me who once sat silent at the dinner table while they made jokes at her expense. To the girl who once baked her own birthday cake and still waited all night for someone to sing. I didn't go back for closure. I went back to witness my own survival. The house was gone. Sold to a retired couple who'd turned the lawn into a garden. Where chaos once reigned, now stood calm. I didn't knock. I didn't need to. I stood across the street and whispered, "You don't know my story anymore." I drove past my old high school. Past the diner where I worked night shifts. Past the clinic my mom quit because spiritual energy didn't pay well enough for her. Then I stopped at the community library. Walked inside with a single folder under my arm. Inside were copies of the Hearth project's blueprints. A full case study. I donated it to the architecture section, under a new plaque, in honor of the ones who built themselves. That night, I stayed in a small motel. 1 room. 1 suitcase. 1 self. And I finally opened the sketchbook. Inside was the letter from my father. Still sealed. But I didn't read it. Instead, I tore a piece from the last page and wrote a letter of my own. To the girl they called selfish for choosing herself. I'm sorry it took so long to believe you were worth more than duty. I'm sorry I called survival ingratitude. I'm not her anymore. But I'll never stop protecting the piece of me that still remembers what she endured. I love you. I choose you. Every day. Eliza. I folded it. Slipped it between the pages. Closed the sketchbook with quiet hands. Back in Paris, the Hearth project opened its doors. Women walked in carrying pain, but left carrying plans. One wrote a poem on the wall in room 3. They said I had nothing left, but I had my name, and it was enough. On opening night, Ava handed me a glass of sparkling cider and smiled. "What do you feel?" she asked. I looked around. At the lights. The warmth. The laughter that came from freedom, not fear. And I said, "I feel like the storm didn't drown me. It washed me clean." Final narration, as if Eliza is speaking directly to the viewer, quiet, steady, honest. They skipped my graduation like I was a footnote in their story. But I became the author of mine. I stopped paying for their comfort and started investing in my own peace. They called me a burden, but I carried generations of pain and still found a way to build light from the wreckage. This isn't a story about revenge. It's about reclamation. And maybe it's about a girl who finally became her own home.